Petalil. Look at that. Okay, this is the first expansion where the set wasn't data mined, so I've actually already played all the single player content. As such, these are less first impressions and more, I don't know, I've already kind of interacted with a few of these cards. I've seen them all before at this point, I think. There might have been one that slipped through the cracks that I haven't really looked at yet. So on one hand, I'm going to be able to give a slightly better and more informed opinion on how the card functions. On the other hand, you're not going to get to see my shock and awe reacting to these cards for the first time. Most of the cards are okay. My immediate impressions, having seen them all, is that grass, electric, and dark got a lot of help. Some types, like water and fire, got next to nothing. Um, it's not a crazy power creep. People like to say the power creep in this game is really high. I actually don't think it is that much. There's definitely new decks that are possible, and then some existing decks are going to change a little bit. Let's just start looking through the cards, okay? Let's get some BAF reactions. We got Petalil. This is completely standard Petalil. I think the other one did 10 damage and healed 10 HP. I think this one is probably better than that one. I think that's just the one other Petalil, right? There's nothing else besides those two. Looks fine. I don't like the new Lilligant. I'm using a different site to look at all these cards, so I hope it shows properly. There are a lot of cards like this where it's 110 or it's 100 damage and 100 health and 60 damage for 2 energies. This one's retreat cost is a little high. The HP is good, especially when you consider it's a grass type, so it's eligible for a leaf cape. So you can get 2 energies onto this. This is a functional early game card. You're kind of leaving it in to die, I think. I think you probably wouldn't usually try and retreat it and save it. It's only really good in the early game. 60 damage per turn is not amazing in the late game. But, you know, if you get 1 energy onto the Petalil turn 2, and then another energy onto the Lilligant turn 4, that's pretty aggressive. You can get quite a lot of damage pretty quickly. And then it's probably going to survive for a while, so every turn after that, you're going to get energies onto new things before they need to come in. So, overall, I think it's playable. I don't think it's amazing. I just think the retreat cost is a little bit of a nuisance. We got Rowlet. Oh, Erica works with it too. We now have a third Rowlet. This one is probably still not as good as the Skill Dive one. We had one that was doing, this one's averaging, what, 15 damage? Typically either 10 or 20. The other one that's doing 10 damage is doing 10 damage to anything, which I think has nice synergy with both Decidueyes now. And then we've also got the 20 damage on the target Rowlet, which is averaging higher average damage than this. So this one has more of a chaos factor to it, if you're that guy who really wants to hit 30 by any means necessary, and you're willing to try for a 1 in 8. But I would probably run either of the other Rowlets over this one. I sure like his pose, though. Doing a little bow there. I think this Dartrix is probably the new best Dartrix. The other one is doing 30 damage for 1 energy. This one's doing 20 to any target. Once again, I think that getting hits on benched mons is quite valuable for Decidueye in particular because of Pierce the Pain. And then also the new Decidueye card also hits benched mons. So I think the ability to target anything is quite nice. Good card. Probably going to be the new Dartrix in Decidueye decks, and Decidueye still looks playable in the current meta. Here's Decidueye. I think this guy is a fiend with rare candy. 2 energies is low enough. 130 HP is quite a lot. And then 70 damage for 2 energies is already quite decent. But the fact that you can target anything, this guy's like, just him existing is enough to stop the opponent from playing basics because he can just kill them the turn they're played. So that's quite obnoxious for the opponent to have to deal with. I think you could probably run one of these on the Decidueye EX deck. I don't know if this guy's good enough to make a deck around and enough himself, but he could be. He legitimately could be. And even if not, you could just run this as an alternative evolution for Decidueye, or for, Rowlet in Decidueye EX decks. I think it's a playable card. I think it's a decent card. It's like a better version of like Lumineon or whatever, all the other cards that do that, but it's a stage 2, so you would expect it to be a lot better. I think it's the only stage 2 with an effect like this, although there's several stage 1s and a couple random basics too. Decent enough. We got Buzzwole. This guy's the mascot of the new set. Um, it's it seems pretty good. The damage is not crazy. 120 is, it's a nice number. It's not a crazy number. It's enough to one shot a lot of stuff. The higher it gets, the more stuff you're one shotting. But if something has prior damage, Big Beat is probably enough to kill it. The negative effect of Big Beat is a bit of a nuisance, only allowing you to use it once every 2 turns. Celesteela allows you to easily switch in and out of this creature, and then also Lucamine allows you to easily get that energy requirement. So it's kind of, I think this is a workable card in the early game because it's got so much health and it's a basic and it only needs 2 energies to start attacking. And then Punch plus Big Beat is enough to kill most of the stuff in the game. So, your first attack into your second attack will kill stuff. But it's also a serviceable endgame card because it can come in even with no energies and then just Lucamine 2 energies plus your turn energy and then just start attacking right away with Big Beat. You can't really sweep with it because it can't spam Big Beat, but it can easily get a knockout here and there. And having to spend a turn punching is better than having to waste a turn like something like Torterra. Overall, I think it's a workable card. I think it's probably good enough to make decks around. The fact that it's a basic means it easily slots into other decks too, which is quite valuable. I don't know what you would use with it. You could obviously use Superior with it. Any low energy grass cards, something like Serena, would probably work fine with it. And additionally, Serena can discard energies by using Mallow, and then this guy can pull out your discarded energies. So there's a little bit of synergy there. I don't know. It's an interesting card. It seems a little bit mild, but I can actually see that there would be potential with it, depending on if it finds the right allies. Retreat cost is a bit high. It's annoying to run basic with a high retreat cost because you start needing stuff like Leaf. Pheromosa. The first time I saw this card, I was like, "This is Decidueye's new best friend." I've been saying that. It's just low punny, but it hits. It's a basic, so it deploys a lot faster. 70 HP is decent for a basic. Anything higher than 60 is good. It's not good for a non-evolving basic, but this guy's main purpose is to mark some damage on Bensmons for Decidueye to snipe. And it's also good even off of Decidueye decks, just if you have Cyrus, you get this guy to hit some Benchmons a little bit, and then Cyrus pulls them in later on. I think this is a good early game card for Grass, but we got an even better early game card for Grass in Kartana. And this is just Farfetch'd but Grass type, which is basically just a flat improvement to Farfetch'd, because by being Grass type, 1, it's super effective to stuff, 2, it can use Leaf Cape, and 3, it can use Erica. So crazy synergy there. Both of these only require 1 energy, so you probably wouldn't bother with Lucamine, but you could run both of these on a deck with Celesteela and Buzzwole. You got several Ultra Beasts that all work in Grass, and they do have synergy with each other. Whoa, too far. Like Kartana marking a hit on something and then getting the free switch into Buzzwole for it to kill them, or Buzzwole not being able to big beat, so it getting the free switch into Pheromosa or Kartana are both quite valuable, I think. And then Kartana being able to get slightly higher damage than Punch, or Pheromosa being able to hit a Benchmon, set it up for another Cyrus into, big beat from Buzzwole. I think there's some synergy there. I don't know how strong it is. There's new stuff to play with. Like, a lot of the grass cards here can all enhance existing grass decks, I feel. So definitely some play. Blacephalon is our only new fire card. The fact that it's an Ultra Beast is almost a non-factor because no other Ultra Beast works in fire decks besides like Celesteela, which is kind of a nuisance. This is a pretty funny card. I mean, sure, you can use Beastite or that new like wall item with it. 130 damage is a lot. 3 energies is pretty expensive, and you also kill yourself by... Like, this is more damage than it takes in the games when it uses the head explosion move. I don't know why they made it take so much damage. It should take like 50 at most, not 70. So this thing just kills itself when it uses its attack, which is unfortunate. Like a lot of whatever the opponent goes into will probably just be able to kill it in return. And you can't even like I don't even know if there's a way to hit it. Like, um, I will say you can deploy this thing in the late game and it's pretty good. It's a basic. It works with Lusamine, and it can just rapidly deploy because you can have no energies on it, and you can just play Lusamine to get 2 energies on it, put your turn energy on it, and attack. So being able to pull 130 damage out of nowhere has some pretty significant value for fire decks. So you could just slot this guy in. The problem is it's horrible if you are forced to lead with it, because you can't play Lusamine on an early game card. It's got 2 retreat cost. It only has 100 health, which is, good for a basic, but for a mon that takes 3 energies to activate, you're going to really take a beating. You're not going to live through your own attack if you even get a chance to attack if you lead with it. So it's kind of a liability to run in your deck, because it could just like die. And you can't easily Celesteela into other Ultra Beasts except Celesteela itself, which also doesn't appreciate coming in before it needs to, because it can only go into other Ultra Beasts and it's got a retreat cost of 4. Um, Interesting card, kind of a cool one. The way that it has synergizes with Lusamine, and then because you put energies on it and it kills itself, that also sets up Lusamine for other things. The problem is there's nothing for this to even Lusamine its energies onto, right? Like, yeah, you discarded 2 energies, and now they can go when this thing blew itself up, or it nearly blew itself up, and then the opponent killed it. But then, what's that energy going on to? Your other Blacephalon is the only thing that makes any kind of sense. Um, I think it's an okay card, but it's got some serious liabilities it introduces to the deck. It might be functional as like a slot in to like some fire deck that exists, but I think on low basic fire decks, it's a little bit of a liability, and most fire decks these days have very few basics. So I don't love it. Very few water cards. Water got almost no help. I'm not impressed by any of the water cards. This one is not amazing. 50 damage for 2 energies is not even that good. 90 HP for a basic is okay. I can't think of a water card I mean, I don't know. What's a water card that I'd rather run than this just for attacking? Just for like an early game attacker. I wouldn't. I'd be running like Manaphy or something like that to set up my mons. I wouldn't be running this guy. 2 energies is just a little too much for an early game attacker. Like, he's not going to do anything on his first turn. He'll be able to get a surf off on his second turn. And then, like, you just dedicated 2 turns to setting up this guy. I don't know. I'd rather run Farfetch'd. I always find myself saying that. I always say I'd rather run Farfetch'd. Farfetch'd is doing 80 damage for 1 energy in the time it takes for this guy to do 50 with 2. Now, granted, Farfetch'd health is a lot worse, but, I'd rather run Pyukumuku than this. That's a good one. Because once you kill Pyukumuku, it does 50 as well. I don't know. Not impressed. Carvana, standard evolving basic, nothing to say about it. Whether it's good or not hinges entirely on whether Sharpedo is good. And here's Sharpedo. It's like a slightly better version of Mawile. 2 energies is not bad for that effect. The effect itself is pretty strong. I guess. Discarding energies is kind of good. Like, I'm not going to act like that's a bad effect. That's a good effect. The fact that it's tied to a coin flip is not amazing. The HP, you wish it was 100 or even higher still, but I understand 90 is fine for this kind of card. Relatively low retreat cost. I think this one's fine. I wouldn't bother putting it in any deck. It's like playable, but there's so many other cards that run before this one. It's okay. It's a little disruptive. It's just I don't know. It's unimpressive. Shinx. The other Shinx was a hiding Shinx. Hiding is actually probably better, but if you want to attack, you can attack. Getting a little damage on something is occasionally kind of helpful, and then you get the Luxray up, and it's already got some damage on it, so you can hit kill thresholds a little bit more easily. Probably stalling with Hide is better, but they're both playable. They're both okay. The new Luxio, I haven't actually compared it to the old one. I think the old one was 90 HP and 40 damage for 2 energies, and this one's 80 HP and 50 damage for 2 energies. I'd rather have a little bit more HP than a little bit more damage, I think. You could go either way. They're both okay. 80 is a nice, or 90 is a nice threshold compared to 80. 90 lives through things that 80 doesn't, obviously. I mean, it's more health, but like, the scenario is relatively common where you'll be left on 10 HP. And then Fighting is an awkward weakness, I feel. You'd really appreciate the extra HP. You might just be skipping Luxio, though. I feel like Rare Candy is really good with Luxray. The new Luxray is a very fine Rare Candy recipient. The ability is really good, and Rare Candy allows you to activate that ability right away, although you won't be ready to attack yet. And then also, Volkner works with this card. So you have 0 energies, as few as 0, and then you evolve and you play Volkner, and all of a sudden you pull 2 from your discard pile, and then you've got the 1 from your turn energy. You can attack right away with this thing. So that's quite powerful. Um, and then also 90 damage for 3 energies. It's not great, but the fact that it can activate so fast with Volkner makes it almost like it's a 1 energy attack if you are running Volkner. I think I'd rather have the other Luxray than this one, but this one looks playable. Notably, the damage reduction effect gives it effectively 150 HP for one-shot attacks, which is kind of like a lot for electric decks. And for attacks that are not going to one-shot you, that it's deducting 40 damage or 60 or how many times they get to attack. So it's more valuable the weaker they are. So you could evolve right away if you wanted to, even in the very early game, and just, the opponent can't attack with strong attacks yet. And this guy's Intimidating Fang is making it so he's not taking any damage. Kind of an intriguing thought, but, it's not really... I think it's not a great card unless Volkner is in the picture, and even if Volkner's in the picture, I think that the other Luxray is probably a little better. The other Luxray is doing 120 for any target, but it's got to discard its energies. This thing can attack infinitely. That's a huge difference. The other one needs to Volkner again to get its energies back. This guy, he just gets the Volkner, he gets all his energies up, and he's just attacking just like that. Pretty good card, in my opinion, but I don't anticipate people are going to be rushing to build decks around it. The new electric cards are extremely good, and this is just kind of good. Blitzel, I would rather run the other one. Zebstrika, this is pretty good. It's kind of like Electrode. It's got a little bit more HP, but it has a retreat cost, and Electrode doesn't. I'd probably run the other Zebstrika that can hit the bench, but 70 for 2 energies is really not bad. I think this is probably a playable card, but it would struggle to find room into my electric decks, but it's okay. I think it's okay. There's just other cards I'd also run. Molga, pretty interesting early game attacker, genuinely competing with Farfetch'd for a fighting deck. Being weak to electric is not a huge issue in electric decks. Only losing 10 damage compared to Farfetch'd and having a slightly more valuable HP threshold, and more importantly, being an electric card when a lot of cards are weak to electric, are all quite valuable. This is not a bad basic as they go. This is a good early game card, but I don't think it's like a crazy good early game card. And Farfetch'd is competing for the slot. You could go either way between those two, and both are functional in electric decks, so it's your call. Both okay. Tapu Koko, they have the same weakness. Tapu Koko, this is one of the new premier fiends of the new expansion. One of the 5 EX cards. This card is really good. First of all, it hits its numbers very quickly if you get the Plasma Hurricane off, if you're actually attacking with it. So it deploys, it uses Plasma Hurricane, it uses Mach Bolt next turn. First energy to use Plasma Hurricane, second energy from Plasma Hurricane, third energy from your second turn energy. So it kind of attacks at the same speed as Pikachu EX, the original one, but it doesn't require a full bench, and it also does 110 damage in the time it takes for Pikachu to do 90. And not only that, but it uses 90. It's the same as Pikachu all turns after that, and it's got a little bit more health. So overall, a very valuable card. The electric cables also works nicely with it because it gives itself energy, so you'll easily have energy on it in the early game, and then that energy can then be passed on to your allies. I think this is going to be used in a lot of electric decks going forward. It's very easy to slot in because it's a basic. The HP is good, and it deploys very quickly. Xurkitree, this one's kind of interesting. I don't know if it's a great card. Obviously, Lusamine allows you to get the energies onto it very easily. 60 damage is decent. It can deploy in a single turn because it's a basic and it needs 3 energies, and Lusamine provides 2 of them. And then Confusion is a pretty good effect. It would be more useful in the early game, but Lusamine only works in the middle to late game. It seems playable. I made a deck with it, and it didn't do anything but I think with the right deck, it could do some stuff. Um, looks okay. The retreat cost is kind of high. That's annoying. It's another one of those high retreat cost basics that you don't want to be forced to lead with. But there's a lot of ways to build a good electric deck with a lot of basics, especially because there's so many electric basic EXs. Like you got Pachirisu, you got two different Pikachus, you got Tapu Koko, Zapdos, and then you got the Zeraora now. It's not an EX, but like that's a good basic. There's a lot of different ways to use electric basics well in a deck. So this guy, he could. You're very likely to not have to lead on him. Um, Decent card. I think it's a little weak for the late game, but the effect is very annoying and potentially very useful. Zeraora looks quite good. I initially thought that it was only turn 1 that it would get the extra energy, but actually it's turn 1 or turn 2. So if you happen to draw this thing pretty quickly, um, it fully sets up by turn 3 or turn 4, regardless. So like turn 1, the turn ends, it gets an energy, and then turn 3, your next turn, you put an energy on it, and you're ready to attack. So that's pretty fast. And then if you you go second, turn 2, you put an energy on it. At the end of that, it gets another energy. And then, next turn you can put your turn energy on something else, and this guy's once again ready to attack. Very good recipient to the electric cable item, because it will get its 2 energies very quickly and reliably, and then it can pass those energies onto something else when it dies. 50 damage for 2 energies is pretty good. It's not a EX, so it can hit Oricorio. Oricorio looks like a great ally to a lot of these cards as well. Oricorio needing 2 energies to activate is a little annoying sometimes, and Electric Cables helps a lot with that, I think. People used to always say last expansion that Oricorio was a good card missing a good deck, but now I think you could easily make a good deck with it. I think electric cards could easily use all of these guys. They got a lot of help. Psychic looks really bad in the new expansion. Clefairy is a nothing card. It's weak. Why would you run this over the other Clefairies? Clefable, there are other Psychic cards that are exactly this. Like, isn't Slurpuff, I think, is exactly this. It might just straight up be identical. One of the Driftblims is exactly this. 60 damage for 2 energies and 100 health, I think. I don't remember if it's exact. I think the Driftblim, one of the Driftblims retreats for free, but I don't remember which one. It's not a horrible card. This archetype of card is okay, but I don't think any of the Fables are super interesting or good. But now we've got 1 energy, 2 energy, and 3 energy Clefable. So if you're a big Clefable enjoyer, you've got quite a lot of selection. Phantump. I think our other Phantump was a grass type, right? Don't we already have a Phantump and Trevenant? I think we do. This card kind of looks like a nothing card. I mentioned when I was doing this live, it's like Machop. It's like a fighting type Machop. Machop was attacking for 20 on 1 energy though, but it had the 70 HP 2 retreat cost. The 2 retreat cost is kind of annoying. And then we got a Trevenant. I think the other Trevenant was, the grass type Trevenant was very similar to this. High HP, high damage, high energy cost. I think this is almost exactly like the grass one. I think this isn't a horrible card, but I always compare cards like this to like Jinx. Jinx is attacking for 2 energies and doing similar damage. And it's a basic, so you don't need to evolve it. And it retreats cheaper. I don't know. Psychic has a lot of interesting kind of toolbox cards now. I wouldn't be running cards like this. And you've got good EX cards in Psychic. Morlul. The other Morluls we had were grass types. This one's a Psychic type. And then we have a new Shinotic. This card got a lot of discussion when it was initially revealed. People were like, oh my god, you can draw Pokemon from your deck into your hand. It's like a free Pokeball every turn, but better because you can draw evolutions. And that's true. It is like a free Pokeball every turn, but better because you can draw evolutions. The problem is that in order to run this, in order to reliably get it, you have to run 2 Morluls and 2 Shinotics, and then Illuminate is going to end up drawing your Morlul and your Shinotics. So, like, the opportunity cost of even putting this into your deck, using the 4 slots to put all those cards in there, and then he's not even drawing the mons you want because he's drawing himself half the time. And then the attack is quite bad. You can slot it into any deck. One of the Morluls is Colorless Energy, and then this one is also Colorless Energy, so this technically works in any deck. And Amusingly, the colorless Morlul is, I think, grass, and this one is psychic, and you could run both of them in a, like, electric deck or something like that. Being able to draw out your deck fast is valuable, but this guy is just taking up too much space. That's my opinion. Meditite, um, whatever you could use it in a fossil deck. It's an interesting thought. Just one Morlul, and then two Shinotics, and that way, at worst he's drawing another Shinotic, and then he's also drawing all your fossil evolutions. But you still need to get the fossils, but you'll get them faster if you draw the evolutions. Interesting thought. New Meditite, randomized damage, it's kind of strong, I guess. Either 10 or 30, Scott value, averaging 20. Um, Nothing much to say about it. I kind of like the new Medicham. I like cards like this. This is like the Island Primate. It's almost identical. It might just be identical. The retreat cost is kind of high. 50 damage for one energy is quite decent returns. I think this is probably a playable early game card. Powered up even more by Lucario if you're running that. Um, Most fighting type decks wouldn't bother to run that kind of sequence, but it works. It's functional. This is a good early game attacker, legitimately. Even more so. It's like a good middle game attacker too if you have Lucario with it. Baltoy is pretty interesting. This card is quite bad. The two energies kind of annoying. Be able to attack, but the damage is at least, not 20. Don't love this. Claydol. This got quite a lot of discussion. Nothing can be healed. It's interesting that it also blocks you from healing. The attack is pretty shrug. 3 energies for 50 damage is not great. But the heal block, this is a mon that just exists to sit on your bench and prevent your opponent from healing. And that has value. Being able to prevent the opponent from using Lily or Potion or whatever else. Pokemon Center Lady. Having a little bit of healing is quite common. Actually running healing decks is not very meta. There are healing decks, but they've never performed all that well. Stuff like Bibarel. I think it's probably not a super crazy good card. The fact that it's a stage 1 is really the nail in the coffin. I think that if this was a basic, people would run it. But the fact that it's a stage 1, the fact that you have to run Claydol plus Baltoy, probably no one's going to bother. But maybe. This is a maybe. If we get better healing cards down the line, this one might see some play. Probably not, though. We got a new Rockruff. I like the Signs of Evolution Rockruff. I wouldn't run this one. I would even rather have the 20 damage Rockruff than this one. I don't like the 2 energy basics, especially when they only got 60 HP. If this had 70 HP, it'd be maybe worth considering. We got a new Lycanroc EX. Rockruff, the Signs of Evolution Rockruff, specifically looks for cards that evolve from Rockruff. So it will apparently find this card. I've actually seen it. It's not apparently. It will find this card. And that is quite valuable. I do appreciate, too, that it's the Duskmane or whatever it's called. Not Duskmane, that's Duskform. It's the middle one. There's like a daytime and a nighttime Lycanroc, and then there's the Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon introduced the intermediate one. It's like a Twilight-ish Lycanroc. And, now he's got a card. One of the EX cards of this set, 150 health is serviceable, quite decent. 3 energies is a little pricey, but what you're getting in return is worth 3 energies. It's a little annoying that you can't attach energies to other things all the time you're using this. It's the same problem that like Ninetales has, for example, where because you're attaching energies to this every turn to keep attacking, you don't get to build up anything on the bench at the same time. So a good ally for this, either you want to win with this or you want to go into mons that don't need that much energy to function if it dies. But it's an EX, so, unless you like lead with it. You could lead with it, I guess. You can run the Signs of Evolution Rockruff, draw this, evolve. The problem is there's going to be one turn where you're not doing anything. You evolve the Rockruff, but you can't attack yet. The opponent could potentially attack you, and that would be kind of a nuisance. But 130 damage every turn is quite a lot. This activates pretty quickly. And that's very decent damage. I think this is a serviceable card. One of the advanced battles, the expert battles of the new expansion, one of the solar single player content, had Passimian into this, and it was actually doing some work. It was like, I think the one I ended up struggling the most against. Um, I don't think Passimian is a good card, but this is probably Passimian's. This is one of Passimian's best possible recipients. Passimian's 60 damage attack into this thing is enough to kill. You'll have a glut of energies. Um, Retreat cost of 2 is not great. You'd rather if it was 1. But at the very least, you can attack with it, and then you'll be down to 2 energies, and then you can immediately retreat with it. So you got a little bit of versatility. You'll be going back down to 0 with this guy, but at least you've got the freedom to retreat if you need to. I think it's a good card. I'm probably going to try and build a good deck with it pretty soon. Probably, probably playable. Top tier, I have no clue. I wouldn't be surprised if existing fighting decks like Garchomp Rampardos ended up still being really strong, stronger than this guy. But I think you could probably build a deck around this and have it work. Passimian, I think this card's pretty decent. 2 energies for 40 damage is not horrible. There are a lot of cards like that, but this one has more health than those ones. But then the 80 damage if you've got both Passimians is a very feasible thing to have, and it works pretty well. At worst, it's still a Marshadow, you know? You don't get the Marshadow's bonus damage from killing stuff, but at worst you at least have that kind of okay health, okay damage. But then 2 energies for 80 is actually really good. And it just relies on you having the other Passimian, which is not crazy rare, but they're both basics. So getting both of them at once is not super duper common. I think it's a playable card. Having both Passimians, and then they're both basics, so you can slot. It only takes 2 slots in your deck to get both of these guys going. You can potentially retreat one into the other as well, which is kind of cool. Cinegast, really cute card art, very beautiful. Nice little ocean behind it. I love all that HP. The energy requirement for that low damage is not great, and the retreat cost is not great. The interesting thing about this card is that it works with Acerola. Kind of an interesting thought. This guy can take 40 damage off of itself and put it onto the opponent with Acerola. The faster you can activate these can't retreat conditions, the more valuable they are, I think. And this one activates very slowly. Not only that, but 90 damage is enough that you're probably going to almost kill whatever comes in. Like, I feel like the entire point of these can't retreats is that you Sabrina them into something that isn't ready to attack, and you trap it in using the Sand Tomb or whatever corner, and they can't retreat, so they're forced to let it die. But Sabrina into Sand Tomb is already going to kill a lot of stuff. 90 damage is no joke. And then I think that it's really bad that it takes this many energies to get this guy going. I do like that Acerola can be used to heal it. 130 HP is a very decent amount of HP. I guess you can technically run it alongside Passimian or something like that, but I think the energy cost is just way too high. I think this is close to being a good card, but the energy cost kind of kills it. Alolan Meowth discards a random Pokemon tool from your opponent's hand. I think if you show this card at all, the opponent's just going to play their tools. So I don't think that's a crazy good effect. I'd rather, if it did some damage, if it did 20 damage, this would be pretty cool. But the fact that it does no damage, the fact that if the opponent just plays their Pokemon tools, like this card can do nothing, is quite annoying. I'd probably run the other Alolan Meowth over this one. The Persian looks quite good. There are a lot of cards that are 100 HP and 60 damage for 2 energies with no effect. This one's 50 damage, so only barely weaker, and then it's got one of the best effects in the game. It's got the coin flip for paralysis. Paralysis prevents switching, and it also prevents attacking. So it's like a coin. It's 50, and then it's a coin flip that you're going to just be able to do it again next turn for 100, and then a coin flip again that you could do it the next turn for 150. Most people don't bother to run the items that heal status. This looks quite obnoxious. This is probably playable, I think. The other Alolan Persian is also, I thought it was playable, but I didn't think it was good, and I never saw anyone use it. This one probably could be used, but we got a lot of cool new Dark type cards. Sandile, a little bit more HP than normal. This one actually is the Machop. 70 HP, 20 damage for 1 energy, 2 retreat cost. That's exactly the same as Genetic Epic's Machop. Krokorok with Light Punch. This is very similar to Machoke, I guess. Machoke was doing 50, I think. I don't remember. I think it was doing 50. Not an amazing card, not horrible. But a nice, clear, continuous evolution from the last one. Nice organic ramp, as it were. And then this one's really interesting. I think this is quite a good card, but the energy cost being kind of high with Dark having no energy acceleration hurts it a little bit. But I think it's playable. Flip 3 coins. For each heads that you discard, or you reshuffle one of your opponent's hand into their bench, or into their deck. I think that effect is quite annoying. Like, on average, you're going to be reshuffling one of your opponent's cards per turn, and potentially several, potentially up to 3. And then the attack is also very powerful. 90 damage for 3 energies is serviceable, and then the effect is quite annoying. You can really be quite disruptive for this card. Now, granted, having a stage 2 up that needs 3 energies to attack, probably that's going to be happening in the middle to the late game, and the opponent will probably have drawn a lot of their deck and played a lot of the cards that they can play immediately. And most cards in this game can be played relatively quickly. There are only like some that you hold on to waiting for particular things. If you can activate this quickly, it's extremely obnoxious. If you can't activate it quickly, it's still okay, but not great. Pretty interesting card, though. I really like it. Nihiligo, this looks like one of the new best cards for Dark. There are so many good, like, poison strategies in Venoshock were already quite strong. And then this guy makes all poison do double damage. Or maybe not, it doesn't double the damage, it adds 10. So Toxicroak special poison that does 20 per turn is now doing 30 per turn. I haven't actually tested it yet, but it seems like having 2 Nihiligos on the bench will add 20 damage per turn. There's nothing that indicates this doesn't just stack. And then it can also poison the opponent, so it's just doing 50 with its 2 energy attack, and 70 if they don't switch out. That's very decent for 2 energies on a basic. But this is already pretty good as an attacker. But if you're running it just on the bench, if you just have some other mon attacking and they have a poison barb or something like that, this guy's really adding a lot of extra damage on that poison barb. And then also, like, all the Venoshock attackers just floating around, like Clodsire, stuff like that. I think this looks quite good, in my humble opinion. I really think this is a really good card. I'd be running, like, any deck that has any kind of poison at all. Instantly Nihiligo's going in there, and Poison Barbs are going in there. Really, really nice. It's just a better, like, Rocky Helmet, effectively. Rocky Helmet, except they are pressured to switch out or they're taking double Rocky Helmet damage. 2 energy to attack is a little annoying. The retreat cost is nice and low. Guzzlord, this looks like the new most annoying card. I thought that Team Rocket Grunt was annoying and they made it even worse. This guy, I have every bad thing to say about it. First of all, 170 HP on a basic is a shitload. That is a lot of health. That attack is exceptionally annoying, Grindcore. Like, it just has a really good chance of discarding a ton of your energies, and then you're trapped in. If it discards several energies, you can't retreat and you can't attack it, maybe, depending on what he did. This is just a huge pain for any mon that needs more than 1 energy to do stuff. And it can get that requirement very easily because of Lucamine. This looks like a very good card in the endgame. Being able to just, like, 120, 4 energies is a lot, but Lucamine makes that a lot more manageable. But even just 30 with the energy discarding is super good, super obnoxious. The retreat cost is super high, but if you're running it with Celesteela, you can even retreat super easily with it, and you've got several other good Ultra Beasts that work in Dark-type decks that activate very quickly. So even if you're forced to leave with it, which, that's the main weakness of it, is that it has 4 retreat costs and it's a basic. Even if you're forced to leave with it, just having a Rocky Helmet or a Poison Barb is extremely obnoxious to go through 170 health while taking damage every time you hit it. And then also, maybe this guy ends up having a Nihiligo on the field and, Poison Barb on this plus Nihiligo on the bench. Killing this thing is probably going to kill whatever tried to kill it. And then Grindcore is just such an annoying attack. And then, Celesteela can just bring out Naganadel or whatever else you got that you can just easily switch into. So being forced to lead on it isn't even that bad. Really powerful card. I think it's the best new EX by far of the new set. Poipole is a nothing card. I have nothing to say about it. It's not great. Naganadel looks quite good. It's the Forced Poison. You can switch into it easily with Celesteela from Guzzlord or Nihilego. And then it's a very good friend of Nihilego. 1 energy to attack, and then 40 becomes 60 and 80 if they don't switch out. Decent HP. Um, Decent damage output if you factor in Nihilego. I mean, 40 for 1 energy is already pretty good. And then the poison effect just, adds on a ton. I think these three are like besties. Naganadel, Guzzlord, Nihilego, and then also Celesteela. It would be so easy to just build a deck with all of those, and I think it's very serviceable. Really good cards, and they all work together. Steel, metal. We got Alolan Deglet. Very random. Not that many cards are weak to metal. If something is weak to metal, it's taking 60, which is enough to kill a lot of basics. But again, metal is not a super valuable weakness. Um, the effect is kind of annoying that it can do nothing. I would probably run the other Alolan Diglett. And then we have this Alolan Dugtrio. I think this is probably the second best EX of the new set. It activates very quickly. The HP is terrible, but it activates very quickly, and it's every time it attacks, it's probably doing... It's averaging 60 or 120, either of those numbers. And then the possibility of 0 is annoying, but the possibility of 180 is enough to one-shot anything in the game. Even 120 is going to be one-shotting most things. This card just has the power to just murder stuff. What's it like? Is there another card that's like this? I guess Marowak is like this. This one's more stable than Marowak because it has more flips. So you're going to be averaging kind of a more middling number. Marowak, it averages 80, but getting 40s is not very rare. I mean, getting zeros. This thing has to get quite unlucky to get 0 damage. I think it's good. The low HP is really a big downside, but it activates so quickly. Only 2 energies to attack and only 1 energy to retreat is insanely powerful, I think. The low HP sucks, but the speed at which it activates makes it very feasible to use it in the early game. And then using it in the early game is where it's going to kill a lot of things that aren't ready to live through its extremely powerful attacks. I think it's a good card. I don't know. I thought the other Alolan Dugtrio, the non-EX one, was good, and I never really saw anyone using it. I saw a few people using it. It wasn't unused. The Aeron line looks too pricey. It looks really bad. They basically look almost exactly like the Turtwig line, and in fact, the Aggron is almost exactly like the Torterra. But Metal is actually arguably a worse type than Grass for that kind of thing. You don't get a Leaf Cape, you don't get Superior. This takes too much time to build up, and then that attack effect is really bad. This would be an okay card if it didn't have that negative effect. It wouldn't even be good. It wouldn't even be broken. It would just be okay. But the fact that it has this negative effect is horrible. I wish it was like recoil damage or something like that. They all cost too much energy. I think it's not good. That 4 retreat cost as well. Torterra is not a good card, and this is not a good card. Ferroseed, a little pricey, including the retreat cost. 2 retreat on a 60 HP mon is kind of annoying. And then the evolution is pretty cool. The attack is kind of pricey, more than you want to pay. But you've got the Rocky Helmet effect, and then you can also just, chuck a Rocky Helmet or a Poison Barb or something like that on it. Nice little stall card. Probably okay in the early game. It won't be attacking in the early game. I don't know. It kind of doesn't have it can't easily attack at all, and it also can't easily retreat. It's more of just a nuisance the opponent has to get through while you're sticking energies onto something else. Now, granted, you can put energies onto this, but the opponent's probably going to get quite a lot of damage on you by the time you get 3 energies onto it. I don't love it. It's too slow. A lot of cards in metal are too slow. I forgot this was even a card. It looks decent. During your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon takes minus 20 damage from attacks. 110 HP is good for a basic. 3 retreat cost is catastrophic for a basic. The attack activates pretty quickly. The thing is, a high retreat cost is bad if you're forced to lead with it, but this is a good card in the early game and a bad card in the late game. So being forced to lead with it is actually not even bad. Like if you run this in your deck, you'd want to get it right away. You'd want to lead with it. Um, that minus 20 damage is more valuable in the early game where things aren't throwing up huge damage attacks. Um, Probably a playable card. I I don't know. It's probably a playable card. That attack effect is good, and only 2 energies to get it going is serviceable. The damage is a little low, but I think that's a serviceable card. Like, I always say like Farfetch'd, but Farfetch'd here is losing 50 health, and it gets one additional attack off, and it doesn't have the damage reduction effect. So this is actually probably just better than Farfetch'd. But the real question with Metal decks is it better than Skarmory? Because Skarmory is the early game god in Metal. Skarmory's doing 100 damage on the turn. This guy's doing 40. And Skarmory has serviceable HP, 80. Lillipup, I love him. Herdier, 60 for or 60 health, 20 damage, and 80 health, 30 damage, both for 1 energy. That's decent. That's quite good. This is a good card if you go first, and still a good card if you go second. And then we only have 2 energies to attack on the high tier one, the stage 2. And the ability is quite good as well. Forces the opponent to need 1 additional energy to use its moves. Good with a rare candy, I think. I think this is a pretty interesting card. Only 2 energies means it's quite viable with a rare candy, and then that effect being in play is quite valuable early on, and it might prevent Stoutland from being attacked because the opponent won't meet the energy requirements, or they'll have to dedicate extra turns to put energies on their mons, which will not be going on benched mons, for example. Mons that would be taking those energies instead. I think that ability is quite good. I think the attack is cheap enough that you can build into it very quickly. I think this is, with or without rare candies, I think this is a playable card. But I think it does more work in the early game. Still works in the late game. 1 and 40 HP is quite a lot. And then 2 energies for 70 damage is serviceable. I think this is playable. You can run it with anything, but I don't know who the ideal allies would be. This Stuffle looks unimpressive. The Beware is probably the new funniest card in the game. It's got a 1/4 chance of instant knockout, 3/4 chance of doing nothing. That instant knockout is insanely disruptive, but 3 energies is too much for that effect. There are other cards that can also knock out with 3 energies and like have more than a 1/4 success rate just by having high damage. It's a really funny card, but it's not. It's way too inconsistent. It's way, way, way too inconsistent. Oranguru, Hammerin. This is. I don't know why you'd be running this thing instead. There's other normal cards that do effects very similar to this. It's paying too much for that price for that attack, and it doesn't evolve or anything like that. You could use it alongside Ilima, right? Is that the card that allows you to put normal type spec into your hand? I'd rather run Kangaskhan than this. Kangaskhan can attack with much lower energy, which Ilima is really nice for those cards because you can just like rapidly deploy them, and you're not losing 3 energies to put it back into your hand. This guy would be losing 3 energies. That's a huge nuisance. Yeah, I think there's other colorless cards that can do something like this, and there's also cards of most types that can do something like this. This guy is pretty slow to activate, and the power is decent, but I don't know. You can get more power faster with other cards, but it's a colorless, so you would expect it to be outclassed. Type Null is pretty interesting. The effect is not amazing, right? It's 20 with a half chance of 40. So already it's like averaging 30 damage for 1 energy, which is close to Farfetch'd. And 80 health is impressively more than Farfetch'd. But the really interesting thing about this card is it evolves. And the evolution is quite good. 2 energies, 50 damage for 2 energies is not horrible. It's not great. But it becomes 100 damage if you played a supporter this turn. And let's be honest, like, Pokemon Pocket games are pretty short, and most people run quite a lot of supporters. You could absolutely be running a supporter. You could be playing a supporter just about every turn. And this guy could be doing like 100 damage just about every turn. And if you don't need 100 damage, if you just need 50, you could save the supporter for next turn. Um, Pretty good, I think. I think that's a quite powerful card. And it's used alongside a card that's really not that much worse than Farfetched. And it's colorless, so you can slot it into any deck. I think these two are pretty functional. Not only that, but there's another card called Gladian that will draw one or the other reliably. So if you have the type Null and you play Gladian, you have a good chance, or even a guaranteed chance, of drawing your Silvally, and Silvally gets the power up because you just played a supporter that turn. So that's really nice. Like, just get this guy, get your 20 damage attack off, and then play Gladian and get your 100 damage attack off. That's powerful thresholds. And then he's still attacking every turn after that with a decent health threshold. I haven't seen anyone talk about this card yet, but I think it looks pretty playable. And it's playable in any deck, too. Celesteela, I don't see used in any other deck except Ultra Beast decks, but it looks really good in Grass and Dark Ultra Beast decks. I've been talking about it in those decks. Its gimmick is that you can just trade around. You get free switches between any Ultra Beast. And the Titanic retreat cost of this guy is totally fine when you consider that you can just retreat into your Ultra Beasts for free, your other Ultra Beasts. Um, it's a little annoying if you find yourself, forced to switch between two Ultra Beasts that both need a lot of energy to do anything, such as Guzzlord EX and this. And then even though you can free switch between them, neither of them can do anything. But then in the late game, that's less of an issue because you have Lusamine to activate both of them rather quickly. And then Lusamine, you probably wouldn't. You'd probably usually be using this as a retreating card, like the one that can help you retreat your mons around a little bit better, a little pivoting card. But the fact that it can attack is kind of good, and the fact that it activates really quickly, and it's quite a lot of damage. Like, granted, it's a coin flip to even do anything, so that's quite annoying if you flip tails. It's useless if you flip tails. But in a pinch, you can Lusamine this instead of one of your other Ultra Beasts. If it's like, you don't have a good thing to do except Lusamine this, you can Lusamine this. If you just need 100 damage and there's no other clear win opportunity, win condition, Celesteal allows this to potentially be a win condition if you're lucky. And 50-50 is not horrible, and 100 damage is quite a lot, honestly. Very good card, in my opinion. The fact that it can attack at all is just icing on the cake. Its ability is already good enough to use it, and then the fact that it can attack in a pinch is good. Beast Wall, interesting card. The obvious time to use it is in the early game. You can only use it if the opponent hasn't gotten points. So obviously in the early game, it makes your Ultra Beasts a little bit harder to hurt. And then also if you're winning, it makes your Ultra Beasts a little harder to hurt. It's either a win more card or an early game card, depending on when you draw it and how things are going. Obviously, it won't help at all in the late game if the opponent's already, gotten a point. It's interesting to have a card like that, though. Looks playable in the Ultra Beast decks. Minus 20 damage is a reasonably good card effect. People ran blue back when it was minus 10 damage, but that was before there were good supporters. But this isn't even a supporter. You can just play this. Repel. I got thrown for a loop the first time I saw this. It only switches out basics, but it's a Sabrina that's not a supporter. Pretty good card. I'd probably just keep on running Sabrina. It's annoying to... It's cool that we have a new Force Switch card alongside Sabrina and Cyrus, but this one looks worse than those ones. Cyrus is insanely valuable for being able to target specific mons. Prevents the opponent from being able to easily retreat to save mons. And then Sabrina still has a lot of value because it can be used even if the opponent has no wounded creatures. This looks like very annoying for Druddigon decks, but Druddigon decks are not really super common anymore. The fact that it's tied to basic Pokemon, it depends on how good basics end up being in the new meta. Like, we've had metas where basics are really crazy good, and then we've also had metas where evolutions are really good. So whichever one this ends up being will determine how good Repel is. Electric Cord, I've been talking about it a lot. It's a new tool. If an Electric Mon dies, 2 of its energies are passed on Manaphy style, one per benched creature. So if you only have one benched mon, it only gets a single energy, but if you have 2 benched mons, they get an energy each. It relies on your your creature that faints having 2 energies to pass them on. I assume that if you only have 1 energy, it passes on 1 energy, but I haven't actually been in that scenario yet. I think this is quite a good card, and you would probably be running it in electric decks. Allowing you to preserve energies is quite powerful. Now, electric decks really appreciate Cape because all the electric mons have very low HP, but this is an alternative that you can run, and it allows you to activate a lot of Pokemon a lot faster, such as Pikachu EX, or I don't know, anything. Zapdos, Tapu Koko, take your pick. Literally any mon appreciates having an extra electric energy attached to it. Beastite, this is a new tool as well. I thought that it was when I originally read this, I didn't realize it was a tool. I thought it was an item. But it's permanently on once you attach it. For each point you've gotten. So this is another win more card. The idea behind these win more cards is that they're allowing they're not functional in the early game. If Kartana could just get plus 10 or plus 20 damage, it would be crazy. But Kartana, if you're in the early game and Kartana's doing 40, if it could do 50 or 60, it'd be crazy. But no one has any points in the early game. But the extra damage on the beasts is quite valuable. It's like a Giovanni that you can just use every turn. It's just automatically used every turn, or even a red that you can use every turn that works on everything if you have 2 points. It's another one of those win more cards. I think it's really good. I think you'd run it in the Ultra Beast decks. It's definitely playable, no doubt. Gladian, I already mentioned this guy when I was talking about Type Null and Savali. Looker, I don't think being able... It lets you see all the supporter cards in the opponent's deck, which is pretty weird. I don't know if it lets you see their hand as well. I don't think it does based on how I've seen other people use it, but I haven't myself tried it yet. But that's not a super valuable effect. Like, just because you see one Sabrina in the opponent's deck, that doesn't mean that they have the other Sabrina in their hand. They might only be running one Sabrina. A lot of people do. It'd be more valuable to see what's in the opponent's hand, and that's just hand scope. I don't love this. Lucamine is crazy good in any Ultra Beast deck, and you would not run it in any deck that doesn't have Ultra Beasts. Okay, we got to the rare art cards. We've seen all the new cards. Rowlet's cute. It's in a basket. I love it. We used to sell these exact hanging baskets at Home Depot. I'm glad to see that Japan has them as well. The very same ones. Comfy room. Very cute. How do you get in there? Baramosa. Looking pretty menacing. Where is this? Is this the lab? Is this Aether Foundation? I don't know. Looking pretty cool. Aura farming. Blacephalon. In the middle of... It already looks like a clown. Here it's at a fair. Pretty sick card. Very beautiful. Very colorful. Meowth. Relaxing. It's cute. I find it funny that it lies down like a human and not like a cat. But whatever. Definitely some cool art. Savali. It's like reaching at us. I misinterpreted how it was standing the first time I saw this. I like Savali's design a lot. It's definitely everywhere. Its design is going all over the place. But it's supposed to because it's a Chimera. Pretty interesting Mon. It looks a little goofy. Maybe the head wing was a bit too much. But it also adds the primary amount of flavor to the Pokemon's shape. Its silhouette. Celesteela taking off, or perhaps landing. Celesteela probably had the creepiest Ultra Wormhole. This is actually a very terrifying Mon. It like lands on planets and sucks their resources or whatever. All the Ultra Beasts are based on invasive species. It's quite an interesting concept. Well, behavior-wise, they're based on invasive species. Visually, they're based on... how do I don't quite know what the theme is. They're supposed to look very alien, but they're all based on actual real-life Earth creatures, but ones that most people probably wouldn't be very acquainted with. I mean, what's Celesteela based on? Bamboo. Buzzwole. That's a mosquito, technically. Nice 2-star Buzzwole. Looking pretty strong. Tapu Koko. Purple looks pretty nice. Lycanroc with the green, yellow green, looking pretty good. I actually got this Guzzlord. I don't have the regular Guzzlord, but I got this one. Pretty cool card. The red looks nice with it. Lowland Doug Trio. Very fabulous. Very cute. I like whoever was like, "Hey, we should give Doug Trio hair." That's a funny idea. I hope that guy got a raise for that. Gladion being extremely chuny and edgy. Looker. Looker doesn't look like a Pokemon character. He looks like something out of like newspaper comics. His design is so aggressively overly simple, and his head shape is very different from traditional Pokemon characters. I think that's deliberate. He's actually showed up in a ton of Pokemon games at this point. He's supposed to be like an international police guy. Lucamine, I got this one. Probably everyone on Earth wants this Lucamine card. I got it. Be jealous if you want. I love Lucamine so much. Cinematic Tapu Koko, I actually got this one as well. This is the one rainbow card I've gotten in a long time. Pretty sick. He's like in the middle of the water. It's like surfing, bro. Wow, he can fly. Lycanroc Howling. Pretty sick. Guzzlord. I don't remember Guzzlord's Ultra Wormhole Dimension thing. What are we looking at? Is it on a screen? We've got like jam and coffee at the bottom, and we're like staring out a window at a Guzzlord? I don't know what's going on here. This is probably a reference to something, but I didn't do it. Beautiful actually. Hollandug Trio popping out of the sand, out of the stone. That's a bit weird, actually. So like, it's implied that this is just dirt that Doug Trio popped out of, but this picture implies that it's like part of its body. Like, was there just these stones in the middle of the beach that Doug Trio popped out of, and nowhere else on the beach? Bit weird. We can see some shells from. This is kind of strange because that would imply these shells imply like Earth creatures, which don't appear to exist in the Pokemon universe. There's no like Pokemon with shells like these. This is the cinematic one. That's an animation that plays when you get this. I haven't gotten it yet, so I don't know what happens, but it's got to be sick. Bro's doing a Shoryuken. Growlithe and Arcanine. Not great cards. Froakie, quite a good card. Frogadier, sure. Greninja, one of the hardest shinies in the entire game. Looks freaking sick. I wish I had two of these. Jinx, I actually got this one. I have a shiny Jinx now. Pidgey, big fan. Wish I had it. It's the slightly better Pidgey, I think. Pidgeotto, it's the better Pidgeotto. Kind of interesting. They tried to, with all the shinies, they tried to take the best versions of each card, I feel. These two are both from Genetic Apex. Pidgeot, Genetic Apex Pidgeot. Quite a good card in my book. One of my favorites in the game. Aerodactyl. I mean, I've probably seen shiny Aerodactyl before, but I don't remember the last time I've seen it. Celebi. I would like this card. It'd be cool if I got one. Arcanine, I got one of these. Pretty sick. Big Arcanine stain here. Aerodactyl. Still a playable card in my opinion. Primeval Law is an exceptionally good ability. Land Crush is serviceable. Could be stronger, but you do what you can with what you got where you are. Pidgeot, huge fan of this card. I think it's not as good as it used to be, but still functional in the current meta. Big fan. And our crown rare is Nihilego. It's interesting that it's that and not Buzzwole or whatever else, but Nihilego is a really good card, so, you know, it'll see play. Do we have a crown rare that's not a good card? We have crown rares that have now been power crept. Such as, I don't know, Mewtwo, maybe? Probably all the Genetic Apex ones have been power crept a little bit. Really cool set. Pretty small. I've already got most of the cards in it just on day one from all the hourglasses I got from ranked, plus doing the solo battles, plus a little bit of Pokemon Gold I bought. Um, a lot of new decks to play around with. It's a little lame that not every type got at least one good card. The Cephalon's a maybe, and literally the only fire card that you got. Um, I would say metal, grass, dark, and electric got a lot of new stuff to at least consider, if not just outright become meta. Dark in particular looks really nice. Electric in particular looks really nice. And then everything else is like eh. I think Psychic got nothing really interesting. I think Water got nothing really interesting. Fire got almost nothing at all. We got no new dragon, but I think it's already been leaked, data mined, that the 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 new event solo battle will be against a Ultra Necrozma. Yeah, Ultra Necrozma, and that will be a dragon type card. It's a very, very weird card. That will be what I will say. If you haven't seen it yet, get hyped for that. Anyway, those are my impressions so far. This one's a little bit shorter, but there's not as many cards, so what can you do? Thanks for watching, listening, etc.